I hope my voice is clear and I'm sharing the screen. Just let me know if you're able to see it. Okay, so we have already wasted our 7 minutes. Please, if possible, join on time because then it's again you are not able to wait after 7 o'clock. So to complete the topic, we at least need 1 hour complete. Just wasting 10 minutes in the starting is also like a big thing for us. So yeah, we'll not discuss much about faltu wale topics now. We'll get back to work. Today we are going to start up the very important topic in JavaScript, that is arrays. This is the 11th lecture, and from now onwards, please mark these words that don't miss the sessions, because till now we were only doing the basics, but from now the important topics are coming. This today is one of the most important topic in JavaScript, that is array. After this, we will be having objects, and then we will be having functions. So these three topics are the things which, indeed, in every program you will do hereafter. You will be needing it. You will be needing arrays. You will be needing objects. You will be needing the functions. So if you get a good command on this, then it's very beneficial for you only in the future. So uh, let's start our today's topic. So arrays in JavaScript. So a basic understanding of arrays, I think you all are from second year, somebody is from fourth year, then third year. Then you have a basic understanding of array. How do we declare array? What is the need of array? But still, we will have a quick recap. So in JavaScript, how do we declare an array? Let's take an example. Uh, const new array is equals to, whenever we want to declare an array into JavaScript, we use square brackets. So there is no logic behind like why only we use square brackets. We use it because for arrays we have square bracket reserved, for objects we have curly braces reserved, and for functions we have parentheses. So similarly, if we want to pass multiple values, if I just say I have like three friends, okay, const and friend one is equals to, let's suppose, Suyash. Then I have another friend, const friend friend 2 is equals to, let's suppose, Vaibhav. Then I have const friend 3 equals to, let's suppose I take my name, okay. So these are like three friends. So instead of like declaring like this three different friends, I can just make an array of friends, and in that I can paste all this, like combinedly I can insert this all names. So I can just say friends, and herein I can, oops, herein I can pass this all values in form of like an array. So this is how we do it. So basically, if we have to define what a proper definition of array, so it's nothing but it's the collection of multiple values. The values can be either string, it can be number, it can be boolean. So there is no limit to it. Okay, you can you can even declare objects into this array. You can even declare functions into array. Okay, so if I just want to declare a function, I can even do that. So it's possible. It's not just limited to string or numbers, but we can do a number of things using arrays. And arrays as immutable means you can even uh, you know change the values of arrays. You can resize the values of, if once you have declared the array, you can resize it, you can add elements, you can delete elements. So they are immutable, in short. We'll have a look into it, like in the coming session we will see how we update the array, how we like pop elements from the array. There are a number of methods which we can perform on top of any array. and we can use it in multiple forms. So basically, declaring an array, you have understood. How do we declare an array? We have to use the, you know, square brackets, but this is not the only way. We are seeing from the first sessions, there are always two ways of declaring anything. In the most of the sessions we have saw. So if you remember, this is the primitive way, you know. What do we say it as? We say it as literals. Primitive arrays, or say literals. Literal way of declaring the arrays. If you are able to recall literals, what is the difference between literals, and we have one another way of declaring, that is object. Okay, if you are able to declare in this, I don't know what is happening today, but I did had a proper sleep, that's all. Yeah, so this is the constructor way. In this case, what do we do? If anybody is able to recall, can you just share, like, tell me how could be the syntax of declaring an array using object constructor? Anyone? I'm not able to recall, like, how do we have already discussed this in every class. I'm telling we there are always two ways. So the second way is like, if I want to declare the similar, you know, what I have declared over here. If I want to declare the similar way using the constructor, then we use the new keyword, you know. If you are able to recall, if I'm declaring similar, you know, similar array, what we have declared here using the constructor objective way. So how do we do that? We use the new keyword, and then I will just say array, and in that, in the array, I will pass the values. Let's suppose I have to pass this whole string, so I can do it. So this is how we do it. So these are the two ways of declaring arrays in JavaScript. This is the objective way, object arrays, and one more thing I will come, and this is the literal way. So we will see the difference also. Basically, the both act in the similar way. In the background, in the memory where these arrays are stored, they have all kinds of same thing. So no matter you go with this syntax or go with this syntax, it won't create much difference. So but highly we use the literal syntax only because it doesn't impact much. The only difference here is, if you are able to say, here we are using you know, square brackets, and whereas here in this case we are using you know, parenthesis. So that is the major difference. We have to pass the values between parentheses, whereas in this case we are using curly brace, sorry, the square brackets. So that was the major difference. One more difference I will just highlight over here. What in case you know, uh, we saw that in case of strings, when we were using the constructive way, the objective way of declaring the things, we saw that the type of whenever we were printing the type of, no, we were getting it as object. Like if I declare it in the form of object string, so we were getting the type as object only, that we called it as string object. In similar way, if we were declaring number also in kind of, you know, this method we were using, the new keyword we were using, so in that case also we were getting the type of as object, but that was number object. Similarly, can anybody make any guesses, like what could be the type of this? If I just say it as friend one, okay, and this as friends. So if I just print the type of friend one, and similarly I would like to print the type of uh, this also, friends also. So what could be the output? Can anybody make the guesses? Okay, let's see what it could be. In both cases, it should be objects, or somewhere it will be array, or somewhere it will be object. Let's try to run it. Yeah, so you guessed it right. In the both cases, we are getting the output as object. So basically, arrays are the types of objects only in JavaScript. Arrays are the types of objects. What do we mean by that? We know that this is an array, okay? We are able to say this is an array, but in short, arrays comes into the category of object only. So that's why we say it as object arrays or say array objects. Okay. But what in case no, I want to see that like what then what would be the difference between if I declare an object? Let's suppose we will be seeing in if maybe in day after tomorrow session, if we have if we will see it after this session. After completing the arrays, the next topic is objects. So don't worry if you don't understand the syntax. Let's suppose I'm declaring any object. Obj is equals to, I use the curly braces, name is Yadnyesh. This is in form of key value pair. So roll number is my key and I have the value as 36. So this is how we declare an object. So if I just I want to see the type of my object, and I will just comment the other console, rest of the console. So I just want to see what could be the type of this object, what I have declared. Do have I used? I didn't have used the type of here. Yeah, I will just run it again. So you can see that it's again giving me the object as the type of. Then you will see what's the difference between the array and the object. If I'm getting in the both cases I'm getting it as object only, and I want to see that whether this, and what could be the difference between this and this. These are completely both different things. So in that case, if you want to strictly check whether this is my array or not, whether this is my array or not, because if I'm just printing type of now, it's giving me in both cases it's giving me object. But I want to strictly check whether this is an array or whether this is an object. So in that case what we can do is, but I want to see this is an array or not. It's giving me the type of as object, but I want to say it whether this is array strictly or not. So in that case what I can do is, I have the method as array dot is array, and in that I have to pass the whatever I want to check, whether I want to check this. So I will pass the name of this object. So I will see whether this object which I have declared, is this an array. So let's just console. So what output should it give? It should either give me true or either it should give me false. Okay, so if the false, it will say that this is not an array, and if it gives me true, it will say that yeah, we have satisfied that this object what you have declared over here is an array. But in case this is an object, so I predict that this should give me false. So let's see the output. So yeah, in this case it is giving me false. So what we can conclude from here is that whenever we want to strictly check whether this is an object, whether this is an array, so I can use this method array dot is array, and then I have to pass the whatever parameters we are checking, whatever thing we want to check. So in this case, in other case, I want to check this whether I will check this for now, whether my friend one this is an object or not. Sorry, this is an array or not. So I will just copy this name and I will paste it over here in place of object. So in this case, whether it should give me true or false, what do you think, whether it should give me a true or false? It should give me true, right? We'll just run this code, and as you guys are able to say, it's giving me true. Similarly, in this case also, I want to print the type of this. I have used the constructor way of declaring an array. I want to see whether this is an array or not. So I can just say it over here. If I just say, it will give me true. So yeah, you are able to classify the things. So with that, so you just cut this out. Yeah, and one more thing I wanna like share with you all. If this is the favorite question of interviewer. I was like, I was preparing for interview for JavaScript, so I prepared a lot many questions. So this was one of the questions which was highlighting multiple times. The question is, when the interview asked what's the difference between creating an array using new array, like the constructive way of creating an array, and the second was the literal way of creating an array. So majorly in most of the cases, the answer was like in most you will also like give the first answer as here we use the parenthesis, whereas in this case we use the curly brace, the square brackets. But at that point of time, interviewers like get like how much experience you are. So to avoid this case, what you can do is the major difference between the declaring the arrays in form of using square brackets and using the literals and the object way is that, just see, I will explain you with an example. Okay, just comment, I will comment this out, and I'm declaring another array, const new array is equals to, and then I want to pass a single value. Okay, so I'm passing a value as 20. So in this case this is allowed. Okay, so whenever I'm using the literal way of declaring an array now, this is allowed. If I just console log the new array, I will be getting the output as 20. So if you just verify that, yeah, I can see that I'm getting the output as 20. But the another shocking thing over here is that, what if I declare this, let's say I will give it a name as array2, using the constructive way. So I have to use a new keyword, new array, and in that I'm passing the value as 20. So in this case what it happens is, now I'll just console log this first. Okay, console log array2, and if I just run it, just see the output. Okay, here in this case we were able to do it, but what output you are getting after using the constructive way, it's giving me an array and it's printing that 20 empty elements. So this is like, I will just copy paste this for your reference. What does it actually mean? I will tell you. So it, in while we were passing a single element now, while we were passing a single value using the constructive way of declaring an array, in this case what it is doing, it's creating an empty array of 20 elements. So this is undefined. Okay, there is no values inside it, but 20 empty items. Okay, there is no 20. So it's basically declaring the size only. Now it can have the position of carrying 20 elements inside it. So in this case, it's like it's storing 20 value. Okay, whenever we are using the literals way now, so it's storing 20 value as the initial value I'm passing into this array, and it's storing it perfectly. Okay, but whenever in this case I'm just passing single value into like parenthesis using the constructive way, the objective way. So in this case what it is doing is, it is it is creating an array, but it is not passing 20 value inside it. It is not passing my 21st element inside it. It is not doing that. What it is doing is, it is uh, creating 20 empty elements. So I hope you are able to, like, get this thing. So with that, you have, I guess you have got the difference between the two ways of declaring the array. If anybody have any doubt, please just let me know. So we will move on to our next session. Anybody have any doubt? Okay. So the next thing which comes is, why use array? Why do we need array? Why do we use array? So if you have a list of, we just saw it, like, we saw the example of, here they have given the example of cars. We saw the examples of friends. So if similarly, if we had three friends. Okay, we had Suyash, we had Vaibhav, we had Yadnyesh. So we had just three friends. What in case of 300 friends, if we are a group of 300? So declaring each one by one, it's a very hectic task and it won't look good. So we can, in that case, we can use array. Array is the perfect solution for it. So yeah, that was like a basic introduction. Okay, so the next topic comes is accessing and changing the array elements. Okay, so how do we do that? So accessing array in JavaScript is very easy. Let's suppose I have an array. Let's suppose array students is equals to, I will just take your names only. We have the students of our JavaScript series. So I have the first student as Aishwarya, then I have the second student as Deep, I have the next student as Suyash, and I have the next student as Mayuri. Okay. Okay. So if I want to access the first, the first element, the first student of my array, the first student of my JavaScript series, so how can I do that? I can just I just want to print the first student of my JavaScript series. So I can just use the name, and in that I will always the indexing in the array starts from zero. Okay, so at the zeroth position there will be the name of Aishwarya. At the 1st position there will be the name of Deep. At second position it will have Suyash, and at the third position it will have the Mayuri. So to access the first position, the zeroth element, I will have to pass zeroth index. I'm passing the index as I'm passing the index value as 0. So I expect that this should give me the name as Aishwarya. So we'll just console log this, and as you are able to say, we are getting the perfect output. So in this case, if you're able to see, this is how we access the elements, access the values of array in JavaScript. There are other ways also. What in case like if you will say that I want to access all the elements in the single way, in the single loop. So at that point we will use the looping. So how does looping works? I will just give you like we haven't covered the looping till now, so we have not. We are completely unaware of for loop. We had a bit idea in day before yesterday's session. Yeah, we had we had an idea about how if and if else works, but we haven't discussed about for. So we are gonna have a separate sessions for after this, like functions. We will be going to have a separate session for looping, but we'll just see like how do we access values using for loop. So we'll just use the for loop here, and let I is equals to, here I want all the values. So initial value I will give it as 0. Let I is equals to 0 because I want to access the values from the first position, the zeroth element till the end. So I will pass the value as this is basically an iterator. I'm declaring a variable, random variable, as an iterator, which will go at the first position. It will give me the first position, what value it is. Second, we will be going to see it in depth. Don't worry about this now. So let I is equals to 0. So basically it will start from the first index. So and I is less than, we'll discuss it. Like for now I know this I will just use it as, we know that total elements are 4. So I will just say it as 4. Why it is less than 4? Because it should run till 3 only, because this is 0 1 2 3. I don't want the 4 element to be included. That's why I'm not using 4 greater than or equal to. I just want to just want to run the loop till 3. So I'm giving the value as 4, and then I plus plus. After every iterative it will increment the value by one position. And in this I just want to console log the students, and this is just like at the first, as soon as the loop will run first time, it will pass the value as 0, then it will pass the value as 1 2 3, and whenever the value of I will become 4, this loop will exit. So if I just console log, I'm able to see all the values are getting printed. So this is how we access the values using for loop. If you don't understand this, it's completely fine. Okay. Then we have like accessing the values using this indexing is, I guess, clear to you all. I just want to like I just want to also tell you a bit about the property of length. How do we access the length? We know that indexing starts from 0, so the last index will be here in this case it will be 3. But what will be the length? If I just want to see the length, so we know that this is how we see the length, length length, and I want to console log this. I will use parenthesis console.log student.length. So in this case, what is the output? I should get the output as 4. Okay, I'll just comment this out, run the code. Okay, so I'm getting the length as 4. The length property will give me the total length of this array. So the difference between the length property and the indexing is that the indexing start from 0, and it will be always less than 1 less than the length. Okay, so if I want to see the last element of this array, how can I just see using this length method? I can just I will show you an example. What in case I don't know the last, there will be multiple, like there if you have n number of uh, values into the array. Let's suppose I'm just repeating this array. So you have a very big array, and it's very like if you have 1,000 element, you don't know if the array contains 1,000 element, 2,000 elements, you don't know, okay, and you want to access the last element, okay, you would directly want to access the last element, but you don't know the count, the exact count you don't know. So in that case, how you can access is using the length property. You can do it. So how I can do it, like students dot length -1. I know that the last element will be always less than the length. It will be always one less than the length because the indexing start from 0, whereas the length start from 1. Have you ever heard that length is starting from 0? It is not possible. So similarly, indexing start from 0, whereas my length start from 1. So it's like you are able to get the logic. Always my last element will be one less than the length. So if I just use this logic over here, and what I am doing is students dot length. So it will give me the complete length. -1 will be my last index. So, and I have to wrap this into square brackets. Why do I have to wrap this into square? Because this should give me what it should give me. It will give me a number. So that will act as an index. What I'm doing is I'm printing the I want to print the last element of my student array. So that's why what I'm doing is I'm just passing the number, the last element. How I'm passing it? I'm just getting the count of total elements. -1 will be my last element, and that is what I'm passing it over here. And if I just console log this, and yeah, the last element, let's see whether my last element is memory or not. Yeah, so I can see that my last element is memory. So I'm able to get that. And if you still have doubt in this, I will more like I will explain it in more simplified way, okay. So if I just want to explain it in more student dot length, okay. So in this case now what so yeah, in this case what the first step is, you can get the length. So I got the length, okay. I got the length as 12. So there are total 12 elements in my array. I got it, okay. So I want to access the last element. So how can I do that? I got the length, console.log, and students. So I know that my last element will be always less than the length. So it will be 12 minus 1. It will be 11. So if I just console log this, I will get the last element as memory. Similarly, in the same way we did it in the early example, before this example, what we did it, we just copied this, okay, we just copied this, replace it by 11 and -1, okay. Similarly, if I want to access the last second element, I can use it at -2, okay. So this will give me the last second element. So the last second element is Suyash, okay. This is how we access the elements in JavaScript. So I guess this was like a bit, you had the idea how do we access it. Similarly, in future also we will be performing n number of operations on arrays. So at that time we will be going to get more familiar with this syntax. So yeah, this is how we access arrays. And what if I want to change the array, okay. What if I want to modify the array? So how do you do that? So you can do it like if I want to insert some another element on the place of Aishwarya. This at this point on my 0th index lies Aishwarya. So what if I want to change it? I want to insert some another name on place of that. So how can I just do that? I can use students, and in place of the 0th index I want to put some another value. So what value I want to put? Let's suppose I want to put I want to put the value as Ram, okay. So let's see if it works or not. So yeah, the code has successfully run, so we haven't got any error. So I can check whether my value at the 0th position has changed or not. So can I just do that? I can either print the complete array, or I can either print the first position. So I will just, for now I will print the first position of my array, that is the 0th index. So let's see what is the value. So I can see that the name has changed to Ram. Even I can print the complete array. Okay, if I just print the complete array, you can see that at the first position here is the name Ram. Okay, and you can see that this name has changed. This at this position, this is not like this position has shifted. So this is not how it is done. If you are able to understand, this is not the changes which has happened. It has completely replaced the first name with Ram. Okay, it has completely replaced the first name with Ram, and we are getting the output. So remember this. I guess till now it's going fine. You are able to understand the things. We are going just basic, and we are at the very basic level. So I think you shouldn't have any difficulty. If you are still facing any difficulty, that means you are not practicing. Okay, so this is how I guess you are able to see how do we access and change the elements in array. The next thing is converting an array to a string. So for that, if I want to convert an array to a string, okay, so we have the method toString. There are a number of methods, but this is one of the important methods. So I thought to discuss this with you. So if I have, let's suppose I want to take the similar, I will take the similar example only. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to have this much. Yeah, I have this example with me. Okay, so what I want to convert this whole array into string, so I can just do it. Students dot to string. That's it. So if I will store this into some another variable, let's suppose const student string is equals to this. And if I just want to print, if I want to check whether this has successfully executed or not, whether this has the array has got converted into string or not, I can check it. So you can see it has removed the square brackets, and if I just want to see the type also, I can say it type of student string. So it should give me the output as string. So yeah, we have did it. Not like we will not like this was a pretty much easy example. I guess you are able to understand this. So yeah, we'll comment this out and we'll move to our next session. What do we have further? So now we have some array properties, and we already discussed about the length property. Okay, and sort we will be discussing. We will be having the sort in the coming session. The proper methods. Arrays is the topic. I will tell you. Arrays is the topic which is the easiest topic, which has been told. But when you will go to the interview now, if you will go for an interview for specifically in JavaScript or web development, they will have such a questions that will going to get hang. So it would be a thing for you to rethink you. This was so much easy topic, and the questions which came were like questions are, if you are able to understand basics now, then questions are easy. But what in most of the lectures, or if you see the sessions, and it's not just, I'm not blaming anyone, but it's our responsibility also to go through the documents. If you are going to the documents now, then you will get a keen understanding. There they have mentioned the minute details also. So I will try to cover. Today's session is for basics only. We will be seeing the basics, and whatever the important tricky questions are there, no? Like the difference between slice and splice, and then we have the difference between concat and there's another way to concatenate these strings. Let me just see. I have the notes with me. The another way is, yeah, push and concat. These are the two ways to combine a string. What is the difference between that? Then we have the spread operator. So this important things I have kept for tomorrow's session. Today we will just have the basics. So yeah, this we have already covered. And then we have looping array elements. So this also I have just shared with you, just discussed with you the for loop. This is the same way. So the real strength of JavaScript is arrays, of course, and the built-in methods which it provides. So yeah, we know about that. What else do we have? Yeah, one important thing to discuss. This is the basics part. Okay, This is the basic part, shallow copies. So what is the difference between shallow copy and deep copies? I will explain you with an example. Okay, so just to make a note over here first, arrays always create shallow copies. This is also with respect to your interview perspective now, like uh, this is an important question, where the arrays create the shallow copies, or where it does it create deep copies. So it always creates shallow copies. So what do you mean by shallow copies and deep copies? We will understand in just 5 minutes, and after that we are done with the dig. So let's see this with an example. I have an array. Okay, I have an array with me. Let array equals to, and I'm passing values into it. Do I have another array? So we already have an array. I don't want to declare any other array for now, and I will declare it with let because I want to change it in future. Okay. So these are my consistent students. So I will name this array as consistent students. Avoid using capital letter in the starting. Why? You don't get you won't be getting any problem, but whenever you are declaring a variable, now avoid declaring it with capital letter. Why so? Because in case of constructor, whenever we are defining constructor or objects, at that point we always use the capital letter. So syntactically it's the proper way when we should not declare the variables with starting with the capital letters. This is the how we declare variables using camel case. So I have an array with me. These are the consistent student. I don't have Ram as a student in my list. I have Deep, I have Suyash, I have Mayuri, Aishwarya, which are the students who regularly attend the lecture. Okay, and I want to store this. I want to create a separate array for this student. So I'm copying this. Let another array equals to. I want to store all this complete array into some another variable. So I can just pass it over here. I just pass this complete array into another array. If I just console log this, I want to console log both the arrays. Okay, so how can I just do that? Console.log. I will just try to see if I'm able to use the console.table. In the first session we saw how do we use console.table, and in this case I will pass my both values, both arrays. Sorry, yeah. I want to see whether they have the same values or not. So yeah, as you are able to see, the both arrays are having same values at same position. Okay, so yeah, so we have successfully copied the array. So the question next comes is, if I modify this, I have the another array, so I want to modify it. Okay? Another array, and how do we modify it? Let's suppose at the first position. Okay, at the first position, that is the 0th index, we have at the present we have Deep. Okay, I want to modify it with let's suppose tomorrow Deep is not consistent in our class, so we have to remove his name and we want to have some other student in place of that. Let's suppose I want to uh, add Sahil in place of Deep. Okay, so I will just console log this, whether my array whether my array, that is another array, whether this first position, that is 0th index, has changed or not. So I will just run the code, and as you can see that Deep has been removed from the list and Sahil has been added. So yeah, this is done. But what I have, which array I have modified? I have modified the another array. This array I have modified. Which array? uh, this array I have modified. So will that impact my consistent array? Will there be any impact in my consistent array? Will these values be changing? Can anybody make any guesses? I have changed the another array. Okay, this and this are two separate arrays. So I have modified the first 0th index of my another array. So will that impact the consistent students array? Okay, so you are saying that it won't impact the another, say first original array. It won't be impacting. Okay, let's see what do we get. But what the output says is it has modified the original array as well. Okay, so this is what the shallow copies uh, here the shallow copies, if you want to see with this example now. So we have created an array, we have created another array. So this passes the reference, this doesn't passes the deep copies. So deep copies, I mean, this doesn't give me the original copy, this give me a shallow copy. Shallow copy, which means that when we are seeing the we want to see it with the respect of shallow copies now. Whenever I make the changes into this another array, it's been impacting my original array also, it's been making changes into my original array also. So this is how the concept of shallow copies is. Whereas in case of deep copies, we'll see in the future examples. In deep copies, if I make the changes into my copies, okay, if I make the changes into my copies, this won't impact the original array, this won't impact the not the array, this won't impact the original copy. Okay, this was my original copy and this was my shallow copy. So whenever I'm accessing the shallow copy, it won't impact the original copy, that is deep copy. But where in case, whenever we are in this example, if you are able to see, whenever we made the changes into our copies, that was been reflected in my original array also, original element also. So that's why we say it as arrays always create the shallow copies. I hope with this example that I was able to understand it in a proper way. Sorry that, like, if you are able to see less energy today, that is because I didn't had sleep, so there is a bit inconsistency. But yeah, is there any doubt in between, like, are you able to understand shallow copies and deep copies? I will also take you the documentation for like uh, for understanding it more betterly. Shallow copies and deep copies in array. Okay, so do you have the documentation? I will just go to the, I want MDN here. I can go to the MDN also, or I can go to the W3 school also. But for now, I will go to the MDN docs. So shallow copies. A shallow copy of an object is a copy whose properties share the same reference. Okay, so are you getting this point? In this way, here what I'm getting the reference of consistent copy. Okay, so as soon as you get the reference now, what happens in the reference case, when you modify, when you make changes into this array, it will it will directly make changes into my original array also. So that is the case of reference. If you are able to recall, we have discussed this a lot, references, and in non-primitive and primitive data type. I will just make a recap. What are the primitive data types? We have seen that, you see, primitive and non-primitive. If you are able to recall, here in this case we saw it in very depth. Okay, so we'll just move to the documentation. So it gives me the same reference, that's why those source objects from which the copy was made. As a result, when you change either the source or the copy, अगर आप in this case, in this example, if I make the changes into my original या फिर duplicate, अगर मैं दोनों में से किसी एक में भी changes करता हूँ ना, तो it will reflect in my both arrays. That is what it is saying. It will make changes in both. That behavior contracts with the behavior of, this is completely opposite with the deep copies. Okay, if I just move on to the deep copies, the deep copies of an object is a copy whose properties do not share the same reference. Okay, so deep copies में क्या होता है, it does not share the same reference as those of the copies objects from the copy was made. As a result, when you change either the copy or the source, it won't make cause. Okay, it won't make cause to one another. So that behavior contracts with the, yeah, we got it at. So this is how the shallow copies and deep copies work. I hope you were able to understand it. If I would just go, if without going through the example, if I would just have move on with the definition now, so you won't be able to understand it in a more way. So that's why I thought to go with an example. With this, with that, I think you were you got a basic idea. Like we will discuss it. Don't worry. In the coming sessions, these things are going to repeat. You, if you are able to say, we discuss it into first session also, and in the 11th session also, this thing comes. So everything is linked to one another. The things which we discuss into first session, this are going to repeat consistently, continuously. So don't worry if somewhere you are facing difficulty. Don't worry. Just mark the things. In future, you will be able to get it in a more better way. But in case you are facing difficulty in syntax also, if you are like facing, if you are in this case, if you are able to like and reading the syntax also, if you are facing difficulty, that means you are somewhere not practicing. Okay, there is a bit inconsistency in practice. The more you practice, the more you get familiar with the syntax. I've gone through your the form which you have shared. I have gone through your Git repositories. Most of the students I have gone through, there is like, you guys you guys just created the folder, huh? See, you guys created the folder, and the folder it doesn't have. If I see the assignment, it is completely empty. Okay, this is not how the thing goes now. This is Suyash one. Yeah, this is, I don't know what is Durvesh. Durvesh has also just created the repo, but there's nothing inside it. See, Vaibhav also has just created. The students whom I expect they will at least try the assignment, but they haven't. What is your response to this? Are you not able to understand the things?